the web came in, we will tell you about it was here since the last 1,000 years, probably. It cannot even conceive a world without the web. Huh? But 21 years ago, the web was not there. And again, it was a big change of paradigm. The network were here before the web, but people had never realized that if you invent an Esperanto, a language which can be spoken by everybody, then every computer in the world which is on the network can become a user of information and a provider of information. That has changed considerably our life. So this is the biggest one. Another one which is for sure very important is all what we are doing for the health, both for diagnostics and for therapy. And one always forgets the fact that the machines which are using protons and light ions just to cure solid tumors, deep solid tumors, like the one in Heidelberg, the one which is being built in Austria, and the one which has been built in Italy. They all originate from pioneering work, the study which was called PIMS, done here at CERN, by the group of Ugo Amaldi and collaborator, and with the help of our accelerator people. And we are now proceeding to the next study, just to make this machine cheaper, more reliable, and essentially more efficient for curing cancer. But this machine, this center can cure an order of 4,000 to 5,000 people a year. They are not experimental things. They are really massive therapeutic tools. Then this problem is connected also with diagnosis. So if you are using the other skill that we have in this laboratory, which is detectors, with detectors and associated electronics, you can make much better ways in which you look inside the body of a person, using magnetic resonance, using computerized X-rays. And for that, for instance, we have a very successful application which is called Medipix, which is now evolving to the next generation, which will be called probably TimePix, which also would be used for making a single photon computerized tomography. And this is another thing that is being used by many people outside. And PET, positron emission tomography, is the typical thing that people don't realize. When we talk about antimatter, it looks very exotic. Then people go and take an exam with PET. And PET is using positron, which is antimatter of electrons. So antimatter can save your life. It's not only angels and demons.
We're getting a real feel for the breadth of things going on at CERN. One of CERN's main missions is education.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in this respect in this milestone year?
Well, on the education program, every year we have a huge physics teacher training program. And that, I think, has exceeded the numbers of high school teachers by a significant margin this year in comparison with any year in the past. We also have a large number of summer students who come here and make the place look very young for a few months in the summer, particularly in the cafeteria. We also have schools which are not at CERN but often outside CERN. We have a Latin American school. We have a CERN accelerator school where we teach accelerator physics to people all over Europe. And that school typically runs three courses per year at various levels, starting level, intermediate and advanced. And there are schools of, Sergio can tell you about, schools of particle physics, schools of computing. So many schools, all of them working extremely well, and lots of people coming through. The other thing which we've started this year is a new program called Graduate Engineering Training Program. And the idea of that is that people can come from their member states, from their home countries, spend 3 years at CERN working with the specialists in the field, either after their first degree or after their doctorate degree, work at CERN for 3 years and then go back to their home nation and bring back the knowledge which they have learned at CERN, and this is another form of technology transfer, because we transfer the technology back to the country. This has become more popular each year. It's good for us because we get very young people at CERN, and it's good for the member states because they get training, which is fantastic.
Clearly, and in addition to the fellows, the technical students, there's plenty of opportunities
Absolutely.
here. There has been extensive press coverage all year round for CERN, and for this spotlight, Stéphane has prepared a press review. Over to you.
Now let's compact time and travel back a bit more than 1 year, and we'll start with the end of 2009. New scientist from Great Britain says at the end of last year that the LHC becomes the most powerful accelerator of all time. And as a matter of fact, the first half of last year is covered by a lot of similar papers coming from all around the world. For instance, from the US, about the same record, the Scientific American, that says that the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, reaches an initial energy milestone. Another one from Le Monde, another record beaten by the LHC, coming from France. A bit later, during the year now, in 2010, new records were beaten by the LHC. Several tera electron volts were reached by the machine. For instance, El País, which says, LHC, el triunfo de la ciencia, pero también de la tecnología. I will let you translate that. The Washington Post also in the US, about the atom smasher that sets collision record and establishing big bangs here at CERN. Later on, CERN went to space with the AMS experiment, El Corriere della Sera, Il cacciatore di antimateria va in missione. And on the picture you can see the AMS detector that was assembled and built at CERN getting into a Galaxy plane sent from the US. And this, one of the largest plane in the world, carried AMS back to the Kennedy Space Center. Another paper from La Repubblica about the CERN getting closer to the birth of the universe. Another one from the Telegraph, and we go to one of the last main events for CERN this year, which is about antimatter and capture of anti-atoms of hydrogen in CERN experiments. And this is not really science fiction, and you mentioned that we use antimatter every day in PET scans and medical treatment, so we made a step forward capturing anti-atoms. Another one from the Register from Great Britain, wondering if CERN is actually preparing a bomb against the Vatican, to destroy the Vatican. I think it's perhaps typically English. And another one from Switzerland, from 24 Heures, now leaving a bit particle physics and showing that we do a lot of physics at CERN, but we also do, we have fun. We have fun doing physics, but we have fun doing some music and playing music. And there was a record, an album released by Atlas Experiment with various kinds of music colliding in your ears. And that's it for 2012. I hope I was quick enough.
Oh, thank you very much, Stéphane.
Thank you very much.
It was clearly a worldwide view of the press coverage. And what's been your general impression of the press coverage this year? Were they generally accurate?
Well, I think they were very kind to us, not always very accurate, but on most occasions which I've had them, it has been with very well-informed journalists who knew what they were talking about. And, of course, they were interested in the most recent spectacular results we had, and usually they came after some breakthrough. But I think, all in all, they have been very positive towards CERN and towards the LHC, and I think it's been a great year for us to receive all this publicity, and it puts us in the public eye. Probably more importantly, it stimulates young people to be interested in the science which is going on at CERN. And we've seen that this has an impact on the number of young people who actually apply for faculties which are scientific faculties in universities. So that's a big asset to us, because this is a very important, at this particular moment in time when Europe is still recovering from a recession, people need to be doing more scientific subjects to drag the economies out of this recession. And this, I think, is highly important for all of the countries in Europe.
Yeah, it certainly creates a lot of enthusiasm. To close this spotlight, can you tell us what lies ahead for 2011?
Well, for 2011, we want just to... The first goal is just to make 2010 a very light appetizer of what comes next. So our goal is that just to end the next year with about at least 20 times as much data as this year. We think that what last year we thought was a very ambitious goal that we wanted just to set up, we think that this year is very realistic, and in the depth of our heart, we hope just to do even better than that. But we still say at least 20 times. So we commit, but for the first time we say at least 20 times. There is another thing that we are discussing. We will be discussed in January in the Chamonix, our usual retreat in Chamonix, which we look what has happened the year before, and we try just to look into the crystal ball for the next year. And we might decide there just to run not only up to the end of 2011 as planned before, but up to the end of 2012, because this might give us a real possibility by the end of 2012, either just to affirm that Higgs boson was a good idea, but nature is not making it, or just to discover it, and that could be a very big thing for the future of the field.
A few final words, Steve?
Well, next year, as Sergio said, when we were set the goal last year of making 1 inverse femtobarn, which is the number which he's referring to, we thought this is going to be tough. But with the results which we've produced this year, it doesn't look so tough anymore. We seem pretty sure we can do it, and we even think we can do a little bit more. On top of that, we may push the energy up again. Chamonix is historically... We have a 1-week retreat in Chamonix. This started, and in fact, this Chamonix, which is coming up next month, is the 20th anniversary of the first one. The first one was the first year of operating.
Start by Steve.
The first one started when we started operating LEP, and we had a retreat, and it's a very, very good way to get people together, to get everybody to form the same team and pull in the same direction. And it's worked incredibly well over the years, and we did it last year and the year before. In fact, the President Director General, Rolf Hoyer, was at most of the Chamonix while he was spokesperson of Opal for LEP, so he really believes in Chamonix. And so in Chamonix we will go through the energy, what luminosity we think we can do, how we're going to run for the year, the optics parameters, and we'll come out of Chamonix with a detailed proposal for the directorate, which most of us will be there, but we make a detailed proposal on how we're going to run the machine and what we think will be the performance of the machine during 2011. On top of that, there has been a lot of discussion because the detectors have worked so incredibly well and the machine has come on so fast. There's been a lot of discussion as, well, why do you want to stop this machine at the end of 2011 when you might be on the verge of a discovery? That's pretty stupid, you know. So there's been a lot of discussion now because we thought that we wouldn't be anywhere near Higgs discovery. Now we think it could be tantalizingly close. So there's been a lot of discussion, and there will be a lot of discussion in Chamonix. Can we run the extra year? Because this means running the machine for 3.5, 4 years almost continuously. Can we squeeze the extra year out of the machine before we go into a big long shutdown? And we will go through that in detail in Chamonix. I'm fairly confident, I'm absolutely confident that we can run the machine in 2012. The question is if we are in a right position, in a good position to make a discovery, should we go ahead? Because of course it will delay the high energy running by 1 year. But I think if we're close to a discovery, as they say in English, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So we may just go for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So plenty of hard work ahead, plenty of excitement ahead. Thanks very much for joining us, for giving us your views on this momentous years. Thank you, Stéphane.
Thank you.
Wish you all happy, restful holidays, and I look forward to joining you next year for more Spotlights.